Market size is probably about $180 billion TAM, so there's significant opportunity just for continued growth.
My name is Jim Berenberg. I am the CIO for Good Food Holdings. We aspire to be as large as Tractor Supply, but we have a ways to go. So Good Food Holdings, you wouldn't know as a brand itself. We are a collection of 5 regional premium grocers up and down the West Coast, ranging from Metropolitan Market up in the Seattle area to Bristol Farms and Lazy Acres in Southern California. So we are really 4 years under ownership of eMart, very significant, large retailer, international retailer out of South Korea. So we've been blessed with them as an investor, and we are going through a process that's looking to scale and innovate with their leadership.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Armagan Javed, or AJ. I'm a leader in Amazon Web Services Applications Division, and specifically my team's are checkout-free, frictionless retail technologies such as Just Walk Out, Amazon One, and DashCart. Really excited to be here. Amazon is returning to NRF after a gap of 2 years, and looking forward to a great discussion this afternoon, moderated by Tom.
There's actually, even though Amazon may not have been here last year, the Just Walk Out store was there last year.
Yes, exactly. So we have actually a production, thanks Tom for the plug, we have a production store right in front of the where the registration is. That's not just there for the NRF, that's one of our customers who operates that Just Walk Out store. So if you've not, please try it out.
Good use of the technology. When the people aren't here, the store still operates. And also I want to congratulate Tractor Supply on winning the VIP awards for the best retailer in the partnership awards on Friday night. Congratulations on that.
I think it's great that we have an event like that. So, I mean, partners are key to our success and us working together. And so I think it's great that we have that event and we can, continue to work together with our partners on solutions. So, I very much see that award as recognition of the partners that we work with as well. We wouldn't be able to do it without our partners.
And we definitely appreciate your time here, helping us as partners learn how to better serve you, our retail customers. So maybe start off with the first question, which is our theme today is innovation around the customer expectations. So maybe if you guys could walk through your company's culture about innovation. Is it part of the DNA of the whole company? Is it just a department? Is it one individual? Is it something that's out and comes from the field? How is that in the company, and how is that progressed and realized when it makes its way to the end customer, your retail customer?
Hey, did you want to put it, sir? No, go ahead. So, from a Tractor Supply standpoint, we have a very strong culture, focus on mission and values. One of our values is change, so we embrace change. We're always looking for ways to improve the customer experience, the store team member experience. We don't have a corporate headquarters. We have a store support center. We're there to support our store team members. We're constantly out in stores listening to feedback. What are customer pain points? What are some team member pain points, and how do we continue to improve the experience for our customers?
So I would say with Good Food Holdings being a relatively new entity, right? We have a long history of innovation, but it has more to do really with food and right, how we innovate in terms of what we present to our end customers. And we have 25 years of long-standing relationship. I think we're now looking and saying, how do we take that core DNA and apply that to technology? So that's newer for us, right? That same spirit of innovation. How does technology now play a role in that? We have another dynamic in which we're multiple companies. So we're also trying to take advantage of the fact that we do have a local relationship with our customer. We have local operators who have tremendously tenured relationships. We're looking at how do we take advantage of those local relationships and then work across. So as we learn things, right, can we test and learn inside of each of those and then quickly scale it to our other companies. So really two dynamics that I think we're trying to extend what is, I think, at a core, a very innovative culture, but one that now has to be brought together in a way that we can take more advantage
So at Amazon, actually, innovation is very much a part of our DNA. Actually, if you look at our annual reports, we always include the 1997 shareholder letter by Jeff Bezos. And if you read through it, what he describes in it is what we call our day one culture and mentality. And that's not just a culture, but sort of the way we operate. And what that really means is relentless customer obsession. We always start with the customer and work backwards. Much like Glenn was saying, understand deeply customer pain points, customer experience pain points, and then work backwards from it to create an innovative solution around it. And then relentlessly innovate and iterate around that solution. Little factoid for you actually, one of the early names for Amazon that Jeff was thinking of was called relentless.com. Actually, if you open up your browser and go to relentless.com, it will be redirected to Amazon. So that's part and parcel of how we operate. And I'll just mention talking about partners, one other key aspect of innovation is how we do projects and implement projects. Everyone talks about Agile, of course, and Lean. At Amazon, we have a tenet called 2 pizza teams. And what that really means is the right size for an innovative team that is capable of being self-sustained and autonomous is the amount that can be fed by 2 pizzas. So really that's including your partners, your customer, and your Amazon team members, technology team members that can quickly iterate and keep delivering and innovate on that customer experience.
Great. You have to limit the size of the pizzas?
Extra large is fine.
That's great. That's great hearing about the culture at 3 very different organizations. So what are some of the specific applications of innovation or targets? Are the goals additional service offerings, customer service, operational excellence, cost reduction? What's really driving are some of the initiatives specifically for business applications for innovation?
So, at Tractor Supply, we've been linking consumer technology to store team member technology with the focus of creating an integrated experience for shopping for our customers. So with our consumer mobile app, which I would encourage you all to please download the Tractor Supply mobile app, we have integrated that with On My Way, so we can do geofencing and automatic notification of store team members when the customer's arriving to pick up their BOPUS order. We're fully deployed chain-wide with Theatro voice AI communicators. So we've integrated those APIs to our consumer mobile app. We've expanded capabilities in the consumer mobile app, so propane assistance. If you're on the side lot and need to get a propane refill, you can just signal in-app. And using that API integration, we can have a store team member immediately notified, have them come out and provide assistance. Over the last year, we did an accelerated deployment of Honeywell mobile devices that's integrated through Matt Mobile and Verifone E280s with contactless payment. So in that propane example, we can just check out the customer right there and save time. For our customers, we took a process that was probably 7 or 8 minutes previously down to a few seconds. And so we're continuing to focus on that integrated experience. Now we're looking at video and AI on video where we could sense as the car is pulling up into the side lot, being able to immediately trigger a notification. And then also looking at if a register is backed up, to immediately signal that we need to get register assistance, back up at the register, as well as looking at things like traffic conversion, how to increase sales. So those are a few examples, but it's we're kind of relentlessly focused on customer pain points, store team member opportunities just to improve the customer experience and kind of integrating that consumer technology with store team member technology.
Those are great examples. So since we're not competitive with you, I'm hoping we can draft some of these. I think we have a similar focus in terms of really how do we improve the customer experience, and we have the opportunity as we've got people coming into our stores who are really trying to either determine what they want to eat that day, what they're planning for the weekend. There's so much interaction there, right? And we want to basically try and tie what we're doing digitally to what happens in the store and make that linkage tighter and tighter. The reality for us is we've got a lot of foundational work that needs to be done. So as much as we know it's important to continue to drive innovation, in order to put that those innovative platforms in place, we've also got to have a good core foundation. So we've been working through a mixed agenda that is looking at getting kind of those core ERP components, getting our standardizing on our point of sale. But there's so much we can do once we've got those components standardized. So in our case, our journey really started with our point of sale, making sure that was standardized. Then we could move from there and move very quickly to self-checkout. That told us now, and we were really pleasantly surprised when we saw the level of engagement. We're a premium grocer, so we didn't know exactly going in whether or not our customer was going to be comfortable with that level of self-service. And lo and behold, they were extremely comfortable. So we were able to build on that. And then when you look at that, then that tells us that I'm willing to interact directly at the store, right? And that actually moved us from there into looking at smart carts, right, as an example. So again, each of these kind of building on the next. But in our case, we have to be, and I'll use the term, kind of a scrappy innovator. Right, we've got to kind of look at each piece and say which can we invest in. The other element, that for us being a little bit smaller than my peers here, right, we look at how we can partner with, and we'll talk about partnerships, but we really do need to leverage those partnerships. So as much as what we bring is, a lot of depth in terms of experience in our industry and operators and merchants, we look at technology partners who can come in, right, and help work with us to apply that. And so in that area, for example, we have a partnership with Instacart where we've gone and established what they call a connected store. And that's an opportunity for us to take multiple technologies that they have and test that together with them, which, given our size, right, is something that really helps to accelerate that.
Great. AJ?
Yeah, so I'll talk about in a bit, but I'll give you another example of innovation and how we keep innovating. AWS has over 200 services since we launched about 10 years ago, and there's more coming every month almost. But I can talk briefly about AWS Supply Chain, which was announced at reInvent in November last year. So essentially, during the pandemic, all retailers were going through supply chain challenges. So our team got together, and again, working backwards from what we were getting from our customers and partners, decided to leverage the data we have and create a very easy to use service called AWS Supply Chain. This can integrate with a retailer's ERP system with minimal integration, which a partner can help with. And then we already have pre-trained machine learning models, which will help the retailer gain insights from the data, which is across the globe, and how to optimize their supply chain, resiliency issues, or even things like better demand planning and forecasting based on the data that we are seeing. So that's just one example of how we continue to innovate on behalf of our customers and partners.
Amazon's an interesting viewpoint here, where you're an online digital retailer, marketplace, operating brick and mortar stores with Whole Foods and Fresh and other service offerings, and a technology provider.
Correct.
Coming out from multiple different viewpoints here. One common theme I heard was really focusing on the customer experience, and to some extent also the associate experience, to improve their ability to serve the customer, with some of the prerequisites being laying some foundational infrastructure to make that customer experience happen. Great. Maybe we'll just segue, AJ, into the autonomous technology, which obviously Just Walk Out is a great example of that, and we see a lot more of that happening in retail and many different verticals. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. So again, we are customer-centric, right? So when, I think 7 or 8 years ago, when we started getting into physical store retail, much like you mentioned, we started with Amazon Fresh and Amazon Go and Whole Foods as well. When we started diving deep into the journey for the customer, we were exploring, okay, how can we improve their experience? Maybe it's a better self-checkout. Personally, I don't like self-checkouts also, right? It's doing more work. You're bagging the groceries also, you're doing the PLU lookup. If that misses, the blinking light goes on, the associate comes over. So it's friction. It actually adds to the friction rather than remove it. So we said, okay, no, that's not what we want to focus on. So then we ended up, after consumer research, we thought about what if there was no checkout, right? So you completely skip the line, and that was the genesis of the Just Walk Out technology and the associate technologies that are driven off of it, like Dash Cards and Amazon One, which is our palm-based identity service. And Just Walk Out really essentially is, if you get a chance, do explore it. You authenticate when entering a store using either a very quick credit card swipe, or you can use a retailer can integrate with a mobile app, QR code, or you can use your palm to just enter a store. And really, you just pick things from the shelf. It goes into a virtual cart that sensors, including cameras and weight sensors on the shelves, are tracking. If you put something back, even if it's on a different shelf, the tech knows that you put it back, so it'll be taken out of your virtual cart. And then when you're done shopping, you literally walk out of the store, and your credit card on file is settled and charged. And imagine, the applications are across various verticals. We have a partner, Hudson News, at airports, Hudson Nonstop. There are several airports, including Dallas, Fort Worth, Chicago Midway. They're launched, and very excited about the throughput they can achieve at peak rush hours using this technology. And similarly, we have the same tech in Dash Cards, where if a retailer may not be able to implement the full suite of the technology, you can have just a shopping cart which has similar sensors. So as you're putting items into your cart, the machine learning and AI tech can differentiate if it's parsley or cilantro, right? I can't do that, but the AI is able to do that. And then you really get a real-time screen with what items in your cart, and you just take the cart to your car when you're done with your shopping session. So that's again a great way of simplifying the customer experience, and for the associates also, because rather than just doing a robotic, being a cashier and checking people out, they can be more closer to the customer, help answer their questions, cross-sell, and so on.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. So let's talk about everybody here is a partner. So how can partners like the associate members here better serve you? Glenn, let's start with that.
We're significantly investing, in our Life Out Here strategy. Partners are key to our success. We actually, as part of our annual sales meeting, we include partners in that event, so they understand our company strategy, they understand the Life Out Here strategy, how we can work together. And I think it's also important how, not only how does a partner work with the retailer, but there's often multiple partners that are involved. So as an example, last year, we had launched our co-branded credit card with TSC Visa. That was a partnership with Citi, ACI Worldwide, Matt Mobile, Verifone, multiple partners, and being able to kind of accelerate the delivery of that prior to holiday. There was additional payment work that we did with Buy Now, Pay Later with Klarna, and then also with PayPal. So just even in the payment space, there's a lot going on, and then coordination of products and partners. And that's been a significant opportunity for us in terms of just growth of our private label credit card and TSC Visa, and giving customers, we have integration with our Neighbors Club, and being able to provide things like same-day delivery and at no charge, free trailer rentals, and numerous other benefits just being part of our Neighbors Club. And the partners are just key, working together across our technology architecture, key to just making that happen. And some of this stuff is just complex. It takes time, and you got to get into it and do some whiteboard discussions and work at different levels of the organization, and make sure you've got support from each of the partners to deliver. And I think when the partners are all working together, and you can get some really amazing things accomplished. And so I always appreciate that with partners being able to work together and support each other. And we wouldn't be able to do it without our partners, and just being able to, based on our projects and investments, we can scale up. We got to still continue to support new store deployments, We've got side lot fusion remodels that are going on. We've got portions integration and conversion of stores, and then acceleration of digital capabilities with the mobile app, e-commerce. None of it can slow down. We have to do it all, simultaneously, and the partners are key to thinking that.
Sounds like a lot. My head hurt thinking about that. Jim, can you share your thoughts?
My head hurts thinking about that because that is exactly what we're dealing with, right? And so where partners can help out is, and I think it's nicely put together, right? The partners talking to each other and working through, especially for the technology partners, how these partners and these technologies integrate, right? So as a retailer, that's probably not the piece that I'd like to figure out, right? I'd like to put people in a room and then figure out how is that going to connect into our operations. And what I am seeing, and I do think it's changing, and I've seen a lot of this in the last couple of years, is that partners are willing to kind of work together a little more seamlessly because there's so many moving pieces now, much more than I think there has been historically. And then we can tell, right, a much better story in terms of the impact it has to a customer or the impact it has operationally when we can connect these in a stronger way. One of the areas where I think we sometimes come up short is we tend to look at a technology, but not look at how that technology can build on each other. So if I use our connected store example, right, how do I take a shopping list? I mean, actually, we have similar conversations with Amazon.
Right.
So I want to make sure I nod appropriately there because Amazon's is a very powerful partner in that respect. And we're looking at the dash cart there. But the real question for us is, how do I take a digital experience where someone is thinking about a meal that they're planning that may translate into a recipe? How does that recipe then come into the store, right? Get onto a smart cart. Then how do I take that smart cart and not seamlessly, I mean, I'm going to seamlessly check them out, but I want to engage them as they're walking around my store. That's probably the advantage, right? That at least we saw with self-checkout, right? It's people were comfortable doing the scanning, but now I have a way to engage them as they're going through that. But these are a combination of technologies. Another technology there is, right, electronic shelf label, right? And how does an electronic shelf label interact with the smart card? So these are the kind of things that all great technologies by themselves, but as the partners talk to each other and we figure out how to take a use case that runs front to back, we have a much, much stronger story. So what I appreciate, and again, I'll step back and say something similar, that look, we can't do it without partners, but it's partners that go all the way from really the management consulting side, right, that business side of how I'm going to put these, to the technology vendors and how we're going to leverage those technology vendors, to the support. That's as big a piece. So we get all excited, we prove something works, and then we have no way to actually scale getting it out into the stores and then support it. And all these things have to happen simultaneously. So we look at our partners, right, as folks who can help on all these fronts. And frankly, for the ones that can take us from, right, a consultative, from ideation, right, through how do we prove it out, then through how do we actually deploy it as quickly as possible, realize that ROI, and then support it, all better.
Okay, just build on what Jim said. Yeah, absolutely 100% agree with Jim and Glenn's point of view here. At AWS also, we cannot just scale without the help of partners, right? So we have a global partner network of 100,000 partners, SI partners, ISV, consulting, from all the way from strategy to execution to support. But Jim is absolutely right? So our goal, again, working backwards from the customer, if we have an ability in the dash cart technology to engage the customer, somebody's got to build that integration with the backend system that Jim has, and maybe create a customer data lake around it, right? How are we learning from the analytics? So all of that requires partners, and that cannot be done just by Amazon itself, AWS itself, nor by the retailer themselves. So absolutely we need that glue, and partners provide that glue that can build together. One thing I will say that partners, AWS partners are good at, but you need to continue to strive to be better at for all of our benefit and for our customers and retailers' benefits is security. So as we are designing these systems and integrating, let's keep security forefront. At AWS, we have a saying, security is job number 0. So it's not just about, encrypting data, but let's architect systems in a way that they are resilient and, they're secure for the benefit of our eventual end customers. So jointly, our consumers are our customers at the end of the day, right? So if their security, our partners can help drive that for all of us, I think is going to be very beneficial in the long run.
Great point. Good point. So I'm going to open it up to the floor for you guys, the partners that can work with the retailers to ask some questions. But before I do that, I wanted to say one thing. I wanted to thank the many AMC committee members that made this event happen. Steve White, Evan Gold, Mara, Rose, Kana. I've got a whole team of people here that made this event come together and helped recruit everybody together for this event. So many thanks for everybody who made this happen today. So now opening the floor up to you guys. There should be a microphone on everybody's table. You can speak into that, or if you want to shout loud enough, we can repeat the question.
Get the microphone now.
Yeah.
Corey Jackson. This question's for you, Jim. So you have a lot of different brands under one umbrella, and basically right now it seems like you're going through like a functional integration standpoint from a technological place. How are you making decisions on what to standardize within each store, and what secret sauce do you leave in those brands?
It's a good question. So one of the things that we have an advantage in that there are technologies that were right in each of the banners to start with. So part of what we want to do is if it's a scalable technology, then we really looked at using that right as a basis. If it wasn't something that we thought would scale to where we're going, then we actually went down a process of saying, okay, let's take this through right, a little more of a strategic review. What are we trying to do in this space, right? And then went through and actually worked with McMillan Doolittle, make a little plug for them, right, as a good partner, right, that really helped take us through that process to really understand what it was that we wanted to put in place from a new technology standpoint. But we do generally have the belief that across our banners, there's really no reason why, right, each tool itself, there really should only be one tool that we need for each capability that we're looking at. I think where we're looking at differentiating, when I think about a package, let's say, versus custom, right, I really look at that more in the context, is there something that we need to do to amplify the brand that we would want to basically handle that more internally versus that's something that a solution could support for us.
Doug? Doug's a former chair of the Associate Member Council.
Thank you all for being here, really appreciate it. I noticed that all three of you talked about how partners need to work together. We're all potential partners with each other. What one piece of advice would you give us to help us work better with each other to better serve you?
So on the mobility example that I had shared earlier, where we had kind of multiple partners, there's a level of kind of technical complexity on the integration. One of the things that really helped, it was kind of unlocked and got us really moving, is we met at our store support center. We had all of our partners together, and we're able to do some good whiteboarding discussions and kind of, and then also just get everybody aligned so they understood the business, the reasons why we needed the solution, why it needed to be on an accelerated timeline, and get them working better together. And then we've just kept regular communications in place with the partners, having regular stand-up meetings as we're, on the various projects that we're working on to keep people kind of in the loop and engaged.
I would add, because I think that's a good approach. I think if we, as partners, when we have an opportunity to make an introduction between partners, taking advantage of that introduction and then kind of establishing how those partners would work together. And a lot of it is through these integration components. So it's more of a technology partner, then the real question is, hey, from an API standpoint, what do you do? What do you do? Right? What are you capable of in terms of kind of putting your two technologies together? So I think, and I think getting everybody, at least if you're oriented towards, we're trying to solve a customer-facing opportunity on behalf of the customer as partners. If you all orient around that with us, right, we're actually, I think, going to accomplish a lot more. Versus, hey, how does my technology, or what I do exactly fit in there? Right, I think for those who can step back from that a bit and say, okay, we're really solving this on behalf, right, of a better customer experience or more efficient, store operations. I think that goes a long way.
again, it is a gross simplification, but my experience has been that many times, we work with keep their cards close to the vest. They're not really open to being a partner, or they're in a position that they're not in a position they don't have authority to be a partner. So what's an easier way to get them? Because it's really just who you're dealing with, the person you're dealing with, whether they are open or interested in having people become partners or work that way. We call them all partners, by the way. That's what we call them all. But they often don't see it quite that way, or they're not in a position whatever position they're in to do that.
Any
That
thoughts
makes
on
sense.
how to get the partners to play together nice?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I'll take a pass at this. I think as a partner, making sure that you got the right sponsorship. So in some respects, that's probably our responsibility, right? To create an environment where multiple partners feel authorized to engage us right together. And I think if that's not happening and it's individual conversations, or right, I think you also want to ask the question: are you dealing with the right person or group inside of the organization? That's something we kind of see all the time. Is people try and come in through multiple doors, and the reality is, if you can, there's usually right. It needs to have the right sponsorship, right? My boss is sitting right here in the front table, right? So if it doesn't have Neil's, I'm gonna put you on the spot, Neil, right? But you can tell, right, depending on where you're coming in, does it have the right level of sponsorship, right? And then if someone, and Neil actually does a very good job of this, right, through really networking in different potential partners that we have, really setting up an environment where they're invited to the table, they know they're authorized to be there. And if you don't feel that that's happening, then I think, to your point, you're not gonna have that kind of traction. And so I think that, is a key piece to making sure that you can be successful.
Just to add to what Jim said, so one mechanism we have used is just establish a steering group, right? Like a steering committee for a strategic program, which includes the retailer, a tech company like AWS, and all the partners who may be involved in there, right? And that steering committee, to Jim's point, is the sponsor. They meet regularly. Any blockers that the program is facing are brought up to them, and they are empowered to make decisions in a rapid fashion, right? That's absolutely critical and key to the success of any program.
I found having the partners do store visits, having them get the opportunity to talk with store team members, customers, to really understand kind of what those pain points may be, what the strategic importance of the project, why we need to work together, just spending time out in the stores, also just getting some probably windshield time, and you're driving from store to store, can be a great way for them to learn more about the business and working together on solutions.
Great. I think, Steve, you had a question.
See if this works. Yeah, my question kind of centers around the reality that there's probably more to do than you have the ability to get done, and also there's a tendency to be like looking over your shoulder and saying, well, this retailer did BOPUS, so we have to do BOPUS, or they did this, so we have to do that. So can you just talk a little bit about how you prioritize where you're going to put your effort against everything that is facing you?
So I could start, we have a financial review process where, we have a strategic allocation of capital at the company level. We have a capital committee that meets regularly where all of the investments for capital are reviewed. Those would have, ROI kind of financial metrics. We ensure that there's a strategic connection with our Life Out Here strategy, and where we review and kind of prioritize those requests. And then we also have a process to ingest new priorities that come up. So we have an annual capital planning process, but also recognize it's the retail industry, and things are always moving. The customer expectations are always changing, and we need to be able to support new requests as they come in. And so probably the capital allocation is probably a key part of that. And then we've been continuing to invest and increase our investment in technology. So we have an expectation that our partners can also scale based on kind of the project demand that we have.
So we have basically a similar process. We have a strategic planning process, financial budget that gets put together and approved on an annual basis, and then we use a combination of quarterly IT steering meetings. Also, we have a portfolio strategy office, right, that's intended, right, to really look at the broader program, strategic program we have. So those are all vehicles that are used to guide that decision making. We in our setting we do have multiple CEOs, so right, we have to make sure that they're appropriately collaborating and we have that buy-in. And that's where, again, we want to use that somewhat as an advantage, right? If we're able to do something in one banner and it's sponsored there and it's getting traction, right? We want to still enable that, right? And so I think what we've been working on is being a little clearer in terms of what might be a proof of concept, because we need to give some of that local capability. We want to dampen that enthusiasm. So some of these things can kind of start, right, more locally, but as long as we can kind of connect it back into the broader effort, and that's what we're using, kind of this concept of proof of concept with a gate to a pilot, right, to something that then becomes something we would roll out, and in partnership with finance, make sure we go back, right, how does that fit, right, because as Glenn pointed out, the reality is what we think we were going to do at the beginning of the year, we need the ability to change that, right, throughout the year. So these vehicles are there, we're just, continuing to try and formalize how that interaction works and make it faster and faster in terms of decision making.
Yeah. Can I do a fast follow, which would be a lot of the services that consumers want aren't very profitable. So, like, do you make decisions between, hey, this might not have the best return for us, but it's like what our customers are demanding, or it's going to enhance. How do you calculate that kind of intrinsic value?
I can take a quick pass at that first. So at Amazon, we have a concept of what we call one-way door decisions and two-way door decisions. One-way door decision is something very strategic, like investing in building a new fulfillment center or a new data center. That requires more deliberate strategic allocation of capital and so on. There's some projects or decisions which we call our two-way doors. And that means if you make a decision and it does not turn out to be right, you can quickly go out that door where you came. It's reversible. An example would be, A/B testing something on a product detail page, right? The cost to do that is very minimal, but once you get data, you're able to make that decision and reverse it one way or the other. So I think that's one mechanism that we use, and we try to over-index on bias for action. You're never going to have perfect data. So if you have roughly 70% of the data that the consumers and what your partners may need, that's what we say, okay, let's make a decision now. If it's a one-way door decision, then maybe it's a more elaborate process that we go through. From a retailer perspective. Anything to add?
Well, go ahead, sorry.
No, that's,
Well, I should say, we haven't really kind of mentioned pilots, but I think that's an important aspect, before you're making a decision to do a full chain deployment or you're making an investment, with launch new services. We'll typically do several pilots in stores, look for, capture some early learnings, and then, look at ultimately, is this something we're gonna move forward to the chain or not? And but the pilots can be very insightful. Are we gonna hit the ROI targets that are in the business case that we're anticipating? And in many cases we find that we're hitting or exceeding those targets, and then we would look to how do we accelerate, get that to the chain very quickly. And again, that's where our partners come in, is how do we get this to the chain in several weeks or several months, depending on the deployment, and just move quickly.
Thanks.
So, great. We have time for one more. Maybe two if they're fast. George and then Marie.
Okay. I'm George Eberstein. So, in keeping with Steve's introductory comment that one of the themes for this year in retail is bringing aspects of the online experience into the in-store experience. We are a software provider for e-commerce primarily. What we do we've always felt could be a part of the in-store experience as well. We've always found it much harder to sell when it affects the in-store experience than when it's the online experience. Do you have advice for vendors like us or how to be effective in offering our capabilities where it's going to be deployed in stores?
It's a lot of work because you've got to get alignment there with part of your head of omni-channel or the consumer mobile apps. You got to get alignment from e-commerce and then also the operators, from the store operations standpoint. I think being able to get with those key business stakeholders and then also aligning with IT. So I mean, there's just probably multiple stakeholders in that. It needs to be a business priority. It's got to be linked to the strategy. There's got to be capital budget allocated for it, and then again the partners all working together to make it happen. So it's and I would go back to probably those store visits. It means a lot when a partner is spending time in the stores, talking with business partners, store team members, getting feedback from customers, and you're solving a pain point. And if you've got a strong ROI around it, like a strong business benefit, I think it's easier to get kind of alignment with all those key stakeholders and get things moving. So I guess the store visits, I think, is an important connection. Make sure you've got a strong connection back to the customers, the store team members. It's helping improve the experience for them.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think grounding, kind of grounding yourself in terms of what is that experience in the store. I do think, again, depending on the type of retailer you're selling into, in our example, so much of how our customers think about food, right? They're researching, outside of the store. So to the degree there are things they're doing digitally to better understand, what it is about the product. They want to understand and go back to see where the product came from. There's so many different elements, right? We have that opportunity to think about, right, and learn more about it. And then how do you carry that into the store? The store itself is, right, kind of the transaction side. So there can be quite a bit that happens outside the store, and how we bring that into the store and make that available, right, as part of a shopping experience, I think can go a long way to connect with stores.
So I'll ask the last question.
Yeah, go for it, Marie.
Great.
We want to save a little bit of time for networking here. Everybody, we just give me available for some quick one-on-one conversations after this. So please go ahead, Marie.
Okay, first of all, I'm so glad to hear you talk about store visits and how important they are, because they're something that I always am telling my team to do and something that I do regularly, and it's great to hear it echoed from people like you. My question is, as you look out on this year, where do you see retailers, or where are you specifically investing in technology? Is it around loyalty? Is it around customer experience? Is it around like live streaming? Is it around inventory? Like what? Because this is a difficult year, and we know that lots of retailers and lots of people are feeling the crunch of higher inflation, and businesses are pulling back. We're seeing some layoffs. So where are the places that we really should be investing in this year?
Yeah, I think, when I think about a lot of the investments we've been making leading up to this point, really were about the customer experience, and we still have an opportunity to improve upon that. I do think, as I look at this year that's coming up, right, we are going to be facing some headwinds. And those headwinds, I think, start to orient us towards technology investments that potentially allow us to hopefully not just improve the customer experience, but also have more labor efficiency. So for us, for example, it is building off the self-checkout and some of the capabilities we have there. That's where something like a smart cart can be, right, a double win for us in terms of both having a positive impact for our employees in the store, but also for our customers as a whole. right? We are gonna, I think the dialogue's gonna shift a little bit more towards efficiency in the store. And so that may somewhat change, right? Kind of where we're investing. So things like, I would say, something like task management, you know, and our ability, right, to make sure we're coordinating activities in the store. Prepared foods for us, as an example, where that's a pretty complex activity, and to the degree we can be more efficient in terms of how we prepare foods in the store, it's going to pivot us towards, I think, a little more of the operational excellence side.
So I would add, we're focused on growth. We're going to continue to invest in opening new stores, our side lot fusion store remodel program, the Warshlands acquisition. We're focused on completing that integration this year. We're going to continue to invest with digital capabilities to continue to improve the customer experience. Store operational kind of efficiency, store labor. So I think there's some really interesting use cases in leveraging kind of AI, some video analytics, where like take the side lot, being able, if we don't have staffing in the side lot, could we trigger a notification through Theatro that when a customer is there, and they need assistance, that we would be able to automatically just signal to a store team member that there's a customer needing assistance. So looking at how we would drive just continued more efficiency with store labor. I think there's some unique opportunities this year to continue to invest and grow the business and take market share.
Great. I want to note that we had 3 innovation leaders here talk about transition and transformation in retail. I know they said crypto or metaverse or NFT. It's great. Really appreciate your time, Glenn, Jim, AJ. Thank you so much for participating in our panel and helping us as the associate members learn how to be better partners to you to enable your retail businesses. So we're going to spend, I think we have about 15 minutes or so to network. I think you guys will be around, right, for a few minutes to chat, ask one-on-one questions, and please feel free to join in some snacks or drink in the back. Thank you very much for